What's up, guys? Gonna talk a little bit about the Bristol trailer, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about why this game I really believe is gonna be the best NASCAR game we've had in about 10 years. So before I get into that, let's get into the trailer. And to be honest, there's not a lot really to say about the trailer. It just shows you Bristol and some of the racing. So there's nothing really that stands out either positive or negative. It's just a trailer. It's just giving you a taste of what Bristol will look like, and it looks fine. All things considered. But the thing I did notice in the trailer was how many paint schemes you get overall in the game. That comes with the game, and I have to give 704 credit for that. They did give you more this year, and if this was last year, you would a lot of these secondary schemes that you see with most drivers, that would have been DLC. So I give them credit for that. They realize we got to give these guys a little more. We can't just shave everything off for DLC. Yes, they're still working on DLC, and it is what it is. You guys know how I feel about DLC, but I give them credit. There's a lot of extra schemes that I was not expecting. All right, it's not the biggest deal to me. I'm more concerned with customization. So I like doing my own thing, and the paint booth. It's not really a paint booth. It's like the way EA used to do it, template, and then you could change colors and stuff. And I like it. I really do. It's more than what I was expecting this year, because they did announce early on there wasn't going to be paint booth. So this to me was a great compromise, as I said before. So it shows it's like extending an olive branch from the developer to the gamers that purchased last year's game. I really appreciate that, and they deserve credit for that. So I can be critical of them when they do something wrong, and I'm always constructive about it. I don't just come out here saying you guys suck. But they deserve credit too, and I do take the time to say, hey, you guys did this well and deserve credit for it. So the car customization, I like it. I think it does enough to hold us off till we get a paint booth next year, which I'm expecting. But it's nice, and there's a lot of little combinations you could do. My only, I don't even know if I could call it a gripe. It's just a little thing I wish they could add. Maybe the ability to color the wheels. I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, this fucking guy, you're going to really complain about that? I'm not complaining, so relax. It's just something that I think adds more combinations to the little schemes you could come up with. And I like colored wheels. So if you can only do it with black wheels only. I just wish you could do that. It seems like something very simple, and if they can add this afterwards, maybe in a patch, that would be awesome. Because if you look at the templates and the way you can do everything, you could scroll down, and so they could just add another tab that says wheels, and then you pick a color. And it's simple. I don't want to say I know for sure. I'm not a game developer, but it just seems like something really easy to do. I would so appreciate it if you can add it. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. It's really not going to affect, my overall view of the game. It's just something I'd like to see. Moving on from that, the trailer, it was good. I liked it, and I liked that you could see all these extra schemes. I was not expecting that. That's a nice addition. And also, if you just verify your age, you're going to get to the full alcohol sponsors and all that stuff. Very easy way to do it, and it should address the issue for those of you who don't want to see Brad K's name on the hood. So now getting to the issue of the game overall, I gave you guys the prediction and what I thought the game would be, and I stand behind it. I do think it's going to be a solid game. And I think one thing is important. I think that all of us, including myself, we have to get to a point where we realize what this game is trying to be. We may not fully agree with it, even myself. Um, the game is being, purposely designed as mostly an arcade game. Now, on the surface, I know that doesn't sound good for those of us hardcore NASCAR fans who want more of a simulator experience, like NASCAR 2003 season, the PC version by oh my God, I forgot the name. Doesn't matter. It was a PC only game. It did have a career mode, and it was a full on simulator, and it's an awesome game. People still play it till this day. They modify it. I've never had the pleasure of playing the game, but I've seen videos on it, and it does look awesome. I mean, the graphics are incredibly bad, dated, because they're really dated. It's from 2003. But people have done a great job with the cars and bringing them up to date, and there's a lot of stuff people in the community are doing. But that's the last real NASCAR simulation game that we got, right? Don't even bring up iRacing, that's apples and oranges. But this game actually had a career mode. I don't know if we're ever going to see something like that again. I really hope we do. But the fact is, that's not what 704 Games is trying to do. And we have to kind of accept it, because if we don't, we'll never really be able to enjoy this game. And sometimes you gotta kind of come to grips with certain aspects of the game. The other stuff that's kind of missing that should be in the game, things I've mentioned before, like the stats and all this other stuff, that's important, and that it doesn't matter if the game is more arcade or not. This stuff has to be in the game in the future. But, like I said, the whole simulation aspect, we're not going to get that anytime soon, and definitely not from these guys. So we got to accept it. It's more an arcade game than anything. There's a term that I'm sure you guys have heard, Simcade, which is meant to describe games that are arcadish and have simulation aspects to it. And I don't think this game really qualifies as a simcade. If it did, then it would have to be a little more simulation, which I do hope in the future they push it a little bit more towards sim. I'm not saying make it a simulator, but just I think I would say 80% arcade, maybe 20% sim, not even. I'm being generous, but if they could push it just a little more and try to make the game a little more challenging. Now, the game might be really challenging, right? We're only going based on the little bit of info that we have. But I do think in the next game, I do want them to kind of, let's push a little bit more simulation into this game. Just a little bit. I'm not expecting miracles, but I do. If you can get it to a place where you can actually call it a simcade, then everyone would enjoy it more. But right now, this game does look solid. I do think it's going to be the best game we've seen in 10 years. And it's not just judging this game, but the competition, which is last year's game. That's a no-brainer. This is going to be better than that. The Eutechnics games, it's going to be better than those. And the last couple of EA games from 2007 to 2009, I do think this is going to be better. The best thing about 2009 was, as I've said before, was the online multiplayer. And this game does everything and better. Alright? So speaking of online multiplayer, this time around, I'm really excited. There's two things in this game I've been really asking for years. And not just from last year, but from the Eutechnics era. I've been beating the drum of the AI needing to spread out and run different lines, especially sooner in the run. Like, all these games, they have cars stacked up in clumps as if they're all racing in at Daytona or Talladega, and that really ruins the racing. It makes it very difficult to pass. These cars are always on a track, and last year's game, most of your passing had to be done on the high side. This time around, the AI is spreading out very soon, which is just the way it is in real life. And they do seem to run different lines, which gives you the opportunity to kind of, now you got more options in how to pass. That's a huge plus. That is really has me really excited about the offline. You know, the AI does look really improved, and the developer themselves have in this last stream they did say, yeah, you know what, we did work a lot on the AI. They didn't get into too much detail, but the point is that they spent time on it. That's all I need to hear, and it does look improved. I do think people are going to enjoy how the AI races. Okay, this year much more than last year. I'm looking forward so much to that. Also, the online. Now, I'm not huge on online racing. You guys know why. I've talked about it, but another thing I've been talking so much about, going back to Utechnics, and those of you who followed me and watched, and even back in the Utechnics forums, some of you guys remember me from there. You know, I've always brought up this stuff about adding AI to online to help fill out the field, and I do really think, right, that it's going to provide a buffer, which is sorely needed online. So now it creates a buffer between you and other actual racers, online racers, because the AI will, you know, I'm hoping, you know, there's always a chance that it could still be a disaster. But I've always believed that it would help the online and kind of help keep things in order in a sense. Yeah, people could still be fucking idiots and wreck AI on purpose and cause havoc. But the bottom line is, the other thing is, now, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bouncing back and forth, but that's just the way my mind works. One of the other big complaints I've had with online is that people only want to run these short sprints. And we need to entice them more. Maybe, and I do think this would be more enticing. Another thing is, like last year, if you had a lobby or you try to set up a lobby for 25%, 50% or longer races, you never saw more than 2 or 3 guys join in. But this time, even if only 2 or 3 guys join in, you can fill the rest of the field with AI. So it's much easier to have the opportunity to run these longer races online, because now you don't need a bunch of guys. You don't have to sit there all day, wait, and hope with your fingers crossed that enough people join to make it interesting. Now you could just fill the field with AI, and if 2 or 3 or 4 people join, you could still have a blast. So I'm so looking forward to it. I'm super excited. Offline AI, spreading out, and an online multiplayer. I've never been this excited about online multiplayer. And the fact that you also have stage racing. And I'm hoping this entices people to run longer races, right? But even if it doesn't, now you don't need a lot of people. You just got to get a handful of guys and fill the field with AI. And you can still have that experience. And which to me is much more realistic to a real NASCAR race. These fucking sprints are not enjoyable. And people just want to go in and run a 10-lap race and just have a big wreck fest. Now, you're not a slave to that anymore. You can just get a couple guys. So those things alone are going to make this game really exciting. So I didn't even get into all the other stuff. I've talked about it before. But I just kind of wanted to reiterate why I think this game's going to be the best game in 10 years. And that's saying a lot. These guys deserve so much credit. They really stepped up, and they are headed in the right direction. The one thing that I do think they're not headed in the right direction, right, is the kind of wanting to dumb the game down and make it easier for people. That's the wrong direction. It's better to make the game where it's too hard for people, and they have the option to dumb the game down themselves. That's the whole point of bringing the AI difficulty down. If these guys are too difficult for you, you can bring it down. Don't make the game easy where you ramp it all the way up and now it's still too easy. Now you're stuck. If you make the game really challenging, which is why I don't get the argument about last year's game was too hard for some people, so we wanted to make it easier. That's the one thing that this company's doing that I disagree with. I think it's the wrong way to go. Make the game harder and more challenging, And you still have the option to dumb the game down. That's what this rating is for. So if the game is just too hard for you at 103, you could still bring it down. So that's the one thing I think they're doing wrong. Everything else, they're pushing in the right direction. I want to keep encouraging them. And I told you guys I'm going to do that wish list video. And this is one of the things that I can scratch off the list. Because I would have brought this up. I was going to bring up this fucking, you know, the online, adding AI to online. And they finally did it. So I'm not saying they got the idea from me. I don't care where they got it. But I've been talking about this for years. And those of you who've been following me and know who I am from the forums, you know that I've been talking about it. So a part of me feels like this is my baby, my idea that I've been always thinking about. I'm not the only one who thought about it. I'm not going there, so relax. But it's just something I've been talking about. I didn't see no one else talking about it. And all of a sudden this year they're adding it. So I do feel a personal stake in this. Like, I finally get to see if I'm right. Will this create a buffer? Will it make online more enjoyable? I think it will. It's not a guarantee. And there may be issues with it. I won't be shocked. You know, I've always said you can't control what other people do online. It's one of the big things about online racing that no matter what, you know, you can't make it perfect. Offline is always going to appeal to me more, but this is the most excited I've ever been to race online. And again, I want to remind you guys, this is not a simulator. And I don't think it's ever going to be. So, also, this, you know, I know a lot of you guys keep saying, oh, this game engine sucks. It's, you know, it's never going to be good. I think the game still can be very enjoyable. It can still be very entertaining. You gotta stop, you know, when they rebuild this game at some point, and I don't think that's going to happen next year or even the year after. They're going to try to get the most out of this. And until they rebuild this game from the bottom up, you know, when they can finally get a better engine and do things differently. But we got to kind of, you know, judge it for what it is. And I'm trying to do that myself. But I've come to terms with it. This is more of an arcade-ish game. But that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It doesn't mean that it can't be enjoyable. The physics, they do seem improved. The fact is, the biggest issue with the physics from last year is that you can't make a lot of contact with other cars. You know, if you just go side by side with someone and smack into them, not even at an angle, just at a pancake side by side smack, it would just send you spinning out of control and you wreck. And that's a game-breaking experience. And that seems drastically improved. You can actually race side by side with these guys. You can make contact, and it's not going to completely ruin everything. So you know, those of you guys have heard rubbing is racing. You can actually live that now. You can actually experience that. Not have to worry about completely running perfectly where you can't touch another car. That's a big improvement. Is it going to be on the same level as other games as far as physics? No, but I think we're making a bigger thing out of it. Yes, physics always need to be improved. Don't get that wrong. Every year you got to work on AI, physics, and handling. That's never going to be perfect, and it's an evolution. So, as a developer, you always have to have that mindset. Every year we continue to work on this stuff to make it better. So, that goes without saying. But the physics are much better. They look much better, and they will allow you to race a little more harder and not worry about just having your race ruined just because you made contact with somebody. And just as an example, and it may not really make sense to a lot of people, but think of physics of a shopping cart. Let's say everyone had a shopping cart, and that's what, you know, you were racing shopping carts, 40 shopping carts. Obviously, shopping carts, the handling and the physics, what can be worse than that? But if everybody has a fucking shopping cart, you could still have fun racing each other because everybody's on the same playing field. So you won't really focus on how terrible the handling of a shopping cart is and the physics. You're just focused on your opponents, and we're all on the same field. So after a while, you're just having a good time without realizing it. But then when you sit back and you're asked to analyze the physics, you're going to say, this is shit. It's fucking shopping carts. I hope you guys get the analogy. That's the best I can do. But what I'm trying to say is that the physics are not going to be perfect, but they're drastically improved, and you could still have a good time if everything else works the way it should. And the direction of this game, just about everything, I love it. And I can't wait for the game. I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about a NASCAR game in a long time. And I do think, really, this is going to be the best game we've seen in at least 10 years. So until we get more information, that's it. What do you guys think? I look forward to your comments.